June 14th. Forever Live and Die. Colton was a small town to the south of Camelot. It was a sleepy little blurb, no little more than a bedroom community for those who wanted to live far from the city. And given it was a bordered farmland, Colton was as close as you got. Due to the fact that the town was centered in both farmland and the eastern and western arms of the Everfree Forest, it gave the town a exuberant feel, even though it was within an easy 30-minute drive to downtown Camelot. All in all, it was just a little out-of-the-way place that people drove through on Interstate 5 while on the way to the city. But one thing that Colton did have for it was a little secret known as the Birch Glider Colton Equestria County Municipal Airfield. The facility was so small it didn't even have a IDA airport code. Instead, it assigned a lesser-known FAA location code, in this case H4G0, and an ICAO identifier, KCCM. But more often than not, it was simply known as Birchfield, named after its founder, Birch Glider, a local pioneer in aviation who made a name for himself during World War I. Majority of the planes in the field were crop dusters, a personal aircraft owned by the well-to-do who lived in the southern Equestrian County. All in all, it was a quiet, out-of-the-way concrete strip in the middle of farmland. But as people in the town noticed the swanky Gulfstream 100 coming in for a landing at Birchfield, they knew something was up. Most of the time, jets flew directly to Camelot, or close by North Camelot Municipal Airport, in the far north of towns by city limits. Those that flew into Birchfield usually didn't want folks to know they were landing there, and while that wasn't necessarily bad, it made for a sight to see those in Colton growing accustomed to big city life at Camelot. A few minutes later, a man stepped off the plane. He looked around. He looked muscled with ruddy skin, and from a very superficial glance, could easily remind someone of the Hindi warriors of old. But the long white hair cascaded down his back. A deep gray suit with a back bolo tie showed a man who was far more in tune with modern age. "Your car, sir," a soft-spoken woman with glasses and short future hair said, gesturing to the Mercedes-Benz behind her. "Actually, I'm quite surprised you didn't ask for something more your style, like a stretch limo." Yes, so I could party all day and do the babes all night," he said in a dull monotone, waving it off. "Trust me, I wrote those lyrics a decade ago. If I could take them back, I would." He looked at her. "Did you make arrangements?" "Let's see. Given that shortly after midnight, you insisted on a chartered flight here to arrange for a rental car, and it's only 7 in the morning?" She crossed her hands impatiently. "Did you really think that you were going to be able to pull this off?" The man scratched the back of his head. "Yeah, and you have a point. I guess it's been a while since I knew what normal people lived like. So we go get a breakfast. I can make a reservation for La Severia Piccone if you like. I understand it's one of the finest restaurants in Canterlot." "I see." He thought about it for a second. "There's an IHOP around here. Probably should get some real food. Have you eaten yet?" She shook her head, held up 2 fingers, dropping one on each side. "1. You know the rules about messing with the staff. And 2. No, not really. But you should know that already." He brought a hand to his chin and thought, so who's your assistant?" "That would be Tasker. He's pretty on the ball and more ready to go." "You think so?" So he got close to him, despite nearly a full foot height difference between the two. "Yeah, I do." He grinned. "Okay, you're fired." She laughed. "You always say that, yet you never do." "I suppose your husband would discolocate if you lost your job," he replied, chuckling. "So, an IHOP." She sighed. "So much for trying to keep your image." He shook his head. "If I cared about my image, I wouldn't be here." The phone rang, dragging Posey out of a decent night's sleep. "Yeah?" she slurred. "Mom?" Posey bounced her and made her asleep from her bed as he grabbed the phone with both hands. "Fluttershy?" "Look, Mom, I'm sorry about last night. I'm going to have breakfast over here, and then I'm going to come home and talk, okay? Sweetheart, just come home and I'll make breakfast for us. I want to make this right." "I know. Is Angel there?" "No. He's sitting in a friend's place. Just come home as soon as you can, sweetie. We need to talk." "I'll be home in an hour, Mom. I promise. I'll see you then. Love you, Mom." "Okay. Love you too, sweetheart." Fluttershy hung up the line. Posy sat, looking at the phone cradle in her palms. Her hands shook. She could barely see the phone as tears started welling in her eyes. It wasn't supposed to go this way, sweetheart, she thought. Your father and I wanted a family, and we wanted to be... The phone rang again. Posy let it ring a couple of times before answering it. Hello? Posy. Is that you? A voice on the other line asked. Her jaw dropped. What the... You know how it is, getting a favor called in, etc., etc., etc. So have you had breakfast yet? I know this great little IHOP on the corner of Sycamore and Whitefield. At least that's what Yelp says. Anyway, I don't know. So are you up for that? Despite how she fed, Posy laughed. You're such a cad, you know that? Yeah, my wife keeps telling me that for some reason. Well, since I just woke up, do you mind if I get dressed and such? I'm off this week from work, so let me get ready and my time is yours. Sure. It's going to take me that long to get there. See you in a few. She leaned back on the bed, realizing how much things had changed from just a few days ago. She was walking on a high wire, and once again her children were in the mix. Somehow paparazzi would be much more preferable at the moment, she felt. But she had to do what she had to protect herself, her husband, and her children. She, just like she knew Discord had, she took her wedding vows seriously. Thanks for having me over, Rarity, Twilight said as Rarity drove her home. In a moment, she was looking at the emails and other things that Sunset and Octavia had sent over the night before. I should have looked at my phone last night. I could have used these to convince Fluttershy. Think nothing of it, darling, Rarity replied. I'm glad you were able to help me with Fluttershy's needs, as I'm not really sure what I would have been able to do alone. As it is, I'm not quite sure we were even able to accomplish that much. To be honest, this is all rather overwhelming. Maybe. This is something we need to get together to help Fluttershy with. Y'all once helped Sunny with problems and after she changed, right? Isn't that the point of our friendship? That might be the best idea, Rarity thought. Perhaps we could discuss things tonight via Skype or something. Perhaps since he didn't listen to one of us, and then if we all went together, to listen to y'all. As they pulled up in front of Twilight's house, the fashionista added, It's something to think about. Sounds good. Let me ask Sunny and Tavi, and we'll all get hold of the others. Maybe we could do it by tonight. I've got an idea. I have to work tonight. But I can't make a call out of 10 in the evening. I should be home by then. Then, here's your stop. Twilight opened the door. Thanks, Rarity, for everything. Yeah, thank you, Twilight, dear. As Twilight stepped out of the car, Rarity did a 3-point turn and headed home. It was early enough she could make some breakfast for her family. A treat since she really had the chance to cook. Before she had to go to work. She promised to put in some overtime today in order to give her employer a chance to attend to business out of town. Besides, it would be a wonderful opportunity for Rarity to practice handling a store by herself. Sunday could be very well the case. No sooner had Twilight opened the door than she found both Sunset and Octavia sitting on the couch, waiting for her. Hey, sis, Sunset called out. How did it go? Twilight sighed. It would have been better if I bothered to check my phone last night. The stuff you said could have really come in handy, she admitted. Still, we managed to calm Fluttershy down, so she really doesn't know what to do. That's understandable, Sunset said in a tone that indicates he sympathized with her friend's situation. I mean, to find out that your parents lied to you your entire life. I can't even imagine that. Especially since I was the one trying to decide Celestia. Sunset thought with a frown. Granted, that was all in the past now, but still not on Sunset's conscience now and then. I think Dad called it Catholic guilt once. No idea what that means, but if it means excessive guilt, yeah, that's probably me. Yeah, I mean, my parents told me little white lies now and then, but that was just for my own good when I was Spike's age, Octavia added, but Fleurs has been hearing from them for her whole life. I don't know what it could be not to trust the one that raised you. I do, Sunset said, harsher than she intended. Trust me, I know exactly what it's like not to trust. Of course, that was the entirety of my own mind, and when Celestia couldn't trust me, I brought that entirely on myself. Part of Sunset wanted to change the past, but if that course of river had been changed, she wouldn't have had the love she had now. She wouldn't have known her sister, her brothers and her parents, family and friends. Better to trade wounds for the balm I have and not to know the stings of experiencing regret. Twilight looked at her sister. Do you want to talk about it, Sunny? Sunset's eyes followed the trace of Twilight's violet ones, then over to the same colors in Octavia's eyes. Not now, she sighed. Just someday, I promise. I'm not ready yet. She looked readily to Twilight's eyes, then to Octavia's. I just hope that when I'm ready to tell you everything, you'll still be here. Twilight embraced Sunset. You're my sister. I know you always will, Sunny. On the other side, Octavia embraced her as well. Just like she said, your family will always be here for you. You're lazy, you know that? Celestia said to Luna as he practically hovered over the latter's bed. This is why I don't want to give you a key, the younger woman groaned. God, I've got one fuck of a hangover right now. Do me a favor, Tia, and find out where Moonshadow wandered off to, please. He's passed out drunk on the balcony. The older woman sighed. Look, Lulu, I don't want to get into your personal life, so don't, Luna grumbled sharply. Now pass me a shirt, or I could just get out of bed naked. Mind telling me why you're here so goddamn early? Because he's an older sister, and we older siblings like to annoy our little siblings when they're asleep. Because we planned for months to have sunrise breakfast with Mama today, since he loves that. Especially at that wonderful little restaurant he so adores. My nana, Luna grumbled, looked at her sister. How late are we? I just got back from it, Celestia said, sitting down next to her sister. I told Mama you were sick. Armania, of course, thinks I'm lying through my teeth, and is going to kick your ass and mine next time she sees us. Yeah, I can believe that. Why the hell are all the violent people in our family the ladies? Kay insisted. She takes after her father in that respect, Luna grumbled, throwing her hands in the air. Fuck my life, I knew I forgot something today. Celestia clicked her tongue. Luna, you're a 52-year-old woman. Really? Because I swear to God, sometimes I don't feel like I even hit 30 yet. Hell, Shadow thought I was younger than him, and he freaked out when I found out I was older than his mother. And yet he's still here. Celestia grinned and added, he does have a cute butt. Yeah, that's my property, you lich, Luna grunted, whistling getting out of bed. Sure enough, she was naked as a jaybird. Bling! And we have Wing Bunner. Having moved from before Celestia moved to her sister's dresser. Crossing her arms, the younger woman asked, So, aside from guilt-tripping me, why are you here? Luna averted her eyes. Do you mind getting dressed? No, let's have this entire scene naked with two beautiful women naked and showing off everything they got. This will eventually make this the best scene in the whole entire fanfic. No, I dare say, one of the best scenes in the whole entire fanfic. Ah! Why do you do this, Legend? I tease you and you don't listen. Fuck you, Trix. Luna rolled her eyes and then walked over to her dresser for a t-shirt and shorts. As she slipped them on, she said, You know, this isn't anything you haven't seen before. We used to take baths together all the time when we were kids. Celestia glanced at Luna and laughed. Calculating she bent over. Gotcha. She continued to laugh until the hangover kicked in again, sending screaming pain to her head. Fuck. Celestia smirked. You know, you should really drink some water. Tia, this hurts. Give me some water. 3 minutes, a half-liter bottle of Vivian and aspirin later, Luna collapsed back onto the bed, though less naked than she was before. She was wearing a red baby doll t-shirt that was emblazoned with a Street Fighter character. Celestia didn't know exactly who, but she'd seen the character before, and the words beat me underneath. She was also wearing a pair of shorts that had such a clever downward arrow graphic on the front, accompanying the words slide to unlock. Likes. That's why you're my favorite older sister. I thought that was Harmonia. No, she's my favorite oldest sister. Slight difference, and I don't want to play favorites, Luna half said, half yawned. Ah, so anyway, what's up? I came to see if I could borrow some clothing. That sheer black off-the-shoulder top of yours and the white pants with the embroidered stars down the legs. Oh, those. Last I recall, you called them stripperific, Luna accused. Because you're supposed to dress professionally at work, Celestia retorted. It was a teacher work day, not a class day, Luna reminded her. Besides, I only wore it because I had a bet going with Raven and Chetney to see who could get Tofu's attention. She grinned. In fairness, we did apologize for making him feel very uncomfortable. I really don't want to know, the older sister sighed. Anyway, do you mind if I borrow them? Oh, and those shoes that match too. Yeah, they're in the closet. It's a good thing we wear the same size, even though you're a few inches taller. Anyway, but you want to borrow them? I have a date tonight, Celestia said simply. Oh, if ever decided that you needed to be let out of your cage and is sending night over, please don't tell me you're going to. That was a joke! Celestia cried, blushing madly. It was a very uncomfortable episode in her life. Yes, Knight was a gentleman about the whole thing and fell after her ass off about the whole thing for weeks. Look, in retrospect, I wish I'd never done it, but that's over and done with. Look, seriously, sis, I'm just going dancing with a date, dinner, and a night out. Nothing serious. Nothing serious, you say? So, how long has this been going on, and when does the family get to meet him? You make it sound like it's a thing. Because you're going out, that makes it a thing, sis. Ever since we grew up, Luna said, making air quotes as she spoke. You always wanted to play the great diplomat and grown-up. Yes, Vel got married and had kids, but she still had time to have fun. So did I. But for some reason you never did. So yes, hearing you going off for a night that does not involve visiting me, the family, Vel, doesn't involve work, is a thing. Celestia sighed. Lulu. Luna hugged her sister. Even you don't admit it, I hope this one lasts. You suffered enough since you broke up with Discord so long ago. You're not a nun, you know. Never said I was, Lulu. Never said I was. The sound of a key going into a lock rang out, followed a second later by Fluttershy coming into the house, calling out, Mom, I'm home. Sia and the love seat close to the door. Buzzy turned her head to see her daughter. Hello, sweetheart, the doctor said, rising to her face her daughter. Have you eaten yet? No, I thought we could go out for breakfast and talk. Is Angel here? No. As I mentioned, he's at a friend's place. Speaking of which, we have guests here. Fluttershy turned to look at who was seated there, and the moment she did, her purse slid off her arm, falling to the ground even as a look of shock came to her face. Seated on the couch by the far wall, the man and the woman, very familiar to Fluttershy, sat there, both looking at her with surprise and a sort of awe. You're right. She does look a lot like you, Pose, the woman added. As for the man, he stood up and approached her. You have grown up, he said, a strangely proud grin on his face. You look absolutely beautiful, sunshine, he added, embracing her. Oh God, I gotta do nice T-Rex with this voice. And he's gonna have a lot of lines of dialogue. Trixie, look at the wire. Thank you. Uncle T-Rex? All these guys? Fluttershy was overwhelmed. She hadn't seen her godparents in ages, though her mother continued to correspond with them, and they often inquired about her and Angel. They were one of the few ties their fathers passed as he kept tabs on, since both of her parents were only children, and helped extend her family just a little. You look so grown up, kiddo, he told her, looking at her with his acid yellow eyes, a hue that was rare even amongst the spectrum of human eye colors. What are you now? 15? 16? Actually, she said, blushing, I turned 18 in October. Afternoon Skies got up from her seat, going over to hug Fluttershy next. Just a spitting image of your mother, I swear, Shy. You don't even look half as good as you when I'm your age. All these guys, aren't you? A woman never talks about her age. Skies grumbled, a false pout coming to her face briefly. So what brings you two here? She asked, excitedly before the realization struck a second later. Oh. Oh, come on, Shy, T-Rex said. Let's go get some breakfast. It'll make everyone feel better. I suppose, where's the nearest IHOP? IHOP? Posey asked. Skies rolled her eyes. T-Rex insists he just wants to be a normal guy. He grinned.
Nobody would ever think of me, since I'm wearing a suit and looking all normal-like.
Uncle T-Rex?
First I interjected.
It's Saturday morning. Nobody's likely wearing a suit anyway.
He facepalmed.
Nuts.
I just want to let you guys know it's weird doing the T-Rex voice and saying something like
Nuts.
It's just odd. Sam alone jogged around the perimeter of the Three Heroes Park, trying to get a decent workout. Granted, he was no longer in the army, and thus could afford to goof off if he wanted. But old habits die hard, he had to admit. It was going to be a rare day when he didn't put in at least 2 workouts, and there was never going to be a period where he just decided to let it all go to pot.
Besides, I've got a girl now,
he thought with a smile.
And given who she is, I've got no excuse for not keeping up with her.
As he talked on, he noticed a couple of women, one slightly younger than him, while the other was clearly a teenager, sparring in a martial arts style he hadn't seen before. The two, though they were clearly sparring, were going at it with no protection, blow for blow, and the skill of the older one clearly shone through, though the younger one was no slouch either. Somewhat entranced by the whole thing, he jogged towards them, curious. As he approached, however, the older of the two stopped to look down.
Is something wrong, sir?
She asked, looking flustered.
Oh no. Just curious as to what martial arts style that was. It doesn't look familiar. Also, is it safe to be going full contact here?
The younger one spoke.
It's uncooked dough, sir. I trust my sister to keep it safe.
She learned that way from... The young one saw as in thought.
I learned it from our uncle,
who learned it from when he was stationed in Korea back in the 80s. The elder explained. I think that's enough training for today, if you can't remember that. Sable, who had been briefly assigned for Korea for stuff was still classified, struggled to recall any martial art by that name. He trained more than once with guys with Korean Special Forces brigades, though the name sounded Korean, it still seemed unusual. He did a mental shrug. Maybe it was a family discipline passed down. The younger girl did look Asian, though the older one looked as Caucasian as they came.
Well, just be careful, Sable cautioned. Clearly you two know what you're doing, but all it takes is for some cop to give you a citation for not having safety gear and all that.
The older one nodded. Understood, sir. Thanks for the warning.
No problem. You two ladies have a nice day.
Nothing else to add. He waved and went back to his jog.
Magikarp waited a few minutes before she walked up to her sister. You okay? Let me look.
The other girl's violet eyes looked slightly dilated, seeing that the older girl heard.
Okay, must have hit you harder than I thought. We're going to stop for today and just jog back to the hotel. Think you could do that?
It's 6 miles, right? The younger one said woozily.
Should be a piece of cake.
She took another step and stumbled, falling against Magikarp.
Maybe not.
Magikarp suddenly set her down, then sighed.
Look, if I hit you practically with a love cap, Tito, I ain't gonna survive full duty status in the sisterhood. You can't stand up to a simple beatdown.
The girl grabbed her head, shrugging off a headache.
I could do this. I could do this, she said to no one particular.
Magikarp sighed.
No, you're not really cut out for this kind of life. And part of me hopes you'll fail. But we all agreed to this revenge thing. Well, the older ones like me did. There's no rule saying you younger ones can't back out. No, he was our uncle too. The younger one exaggerated. It's more than an uncle. He was a father to us, to all of us. What he did to him, it wasn't right. So I don't care if I'm not sued for this. I'll do it or die trying. Okay, Magikarp said, pulling the girl back to her feet and embracing her. Tell you what, let's just walk back to still a workout and hopefully clear your head. Okay. As the two of them left the park, Magikarp looked at the other girl, who was still gripping her head and gnashing her teeth to ward off the pain, while at the same time trying to look very casual about it, not succeeding. We call ourselves sisters, but you three actually are, biologically. Magikarp thought as he looked at the other girl out the corner of her eye. And Uncle Poutine wouldn't have wanted you to have this life. He wouldn't have wanted any of us to. But those bastards that let Scars wouldn't have took that away from him. And we're gonna make him pay. Turning to the skies, he then mentally added, with a little luck, you three can have real lives. This isn't a world you three belong in. Magic Girl's hand unconsciously brushed up against the snub of a 9mm revolver she carried for concealed purposes. It was a weapon, just like she was. Just like the three youngest girls were becoming. This isn't a world any of us belong to. If there was a thing T-Rex missed now that he was famous, it was just to blend into the background, just to join the world as it went by. He remembered the days when he and Discord were just run-of-the-mill kids from San Diego, living it up without a care in the world. They never struggled or lived a hard life, as the background stated by the record label's claim, and they certainly didn't claw their way to the top like rappers usually did, though he knew more than a few gangsta rappers whose hoods were such dangerous places as Beverly Hills, the Hamptons, and other wealthy locations in the U.S. His was just a typical all-American life. So sitting there in the local International House of Pancakes, looking at his wife, the wife of his best friend, and said best friend's daughter, his own goddaughter, made things feel almost normal. Almost in the sense of various people around who recognized him, wanted to ask for an autograph, but at the same time wanted to let him eat in peace. Looking around nervously, Posey said, "You know, I almost forgotten what this feels like. Almost. And no, I still don't like it." Sky's nodded in understanding. "I know. It took me years to get adjusted to it, and I'm not the one with kids." Fluttershy set down her fork, looking at the remains of her spinach and mushroom omelet. She wasn't a vegetarian, though of that she easily admitted that out of all her friends, she'd probably eat the least of it, especially given the burgers that Rainbow, Applejack, Twilight, and Sunset tended to chow down on. But today, even eating felt like a torment. Maybe it was the uneven, dizzying feeling of seeing extended family, while at the same time knowing why they were here.
Shy,
Tear gasped.
you're awfully quiet.
I don't know what to say, Fluttershy admitted. I mean, I know Mom has lied to me all this time, but at the same time, I know she did it for her own reasons. So you could see Posey's reaction out of the corner of her eye and quickly added, "Mom, I know what you did, you felt you had to. And a friend recently told me I don't have the right to judge that decision, but I feel I do. I wish you would have told me about this before I built up a complete and utter hatred of my father. That's not something I could just get over, especially since he's done nothing but bring to the fight either." The man looked at the teen critically.
Done nothing.
"Dear, she probably doesn't know." Skies reminded him, "I'd be surprised if Posey knows." "Know what?" both mother and daughter said at the same time.
I think we'd best discuss this at your place.
Tirk advised Posey.
I think there's something you both should see. Both of you.
"Do I really want to know?" Posey asked, folding her arms and giving her old friend a very odd look.
Hey, what's that saying about not shooting the messenger?
Tirk asked, waiting from his friend's glare. At this time, the waitress came around to find the mighty T-Rex. She was a fan, though she hadn't said anything yet, and two individuals, looking very much like a mother and daughter, glaring at him. She then looked at the fourth individual, and had an apologetic look on her face. More coffee?" "Thanks. Oh, and check, please." Sky's worried. "Make T-Rex sound like a demon," I said. "Use your Dr. Claw voice," I said. Surely you couldn't encounter that many fanfics that will require you to use that voice for a long time. What was I thinking? Shining Armor walked into the precinct. The first day since the end of his vacation, he was back. Granted, it was the weekend, but his weekends generally tended to not be the same as everyone else was. He groaned. Keynes didn't have to go in until Monday, and raked it in with every fiber of her being. Yes, my girl messes with me, he thought, a lazy smile starting up on his face. I'm probably the lucky guy in the world to have the most beautiful woman in the world mess with me. As he walked into the squad room, he saw Melody Tasman and Cuffum seated there, waving him over. "Hey, Romeo, welcome back," Melody told him. "Yeah, how was Italy?" Cuff inquired. "Thanks. Glad to be back," he replied. "So I missed." "The usual," Cuff tried. "Stupid shit with perps, crime, drug dealing, shoplifting. You know, the normal shit." Looks like the results of the detective first grade results come out next week. I hope I pass, Melitali wistfully commented.
Mel, you're a shoo-in, Shiny replied. You're one of the cooler heads on the squad, and you said you aced the test, right?
Yeah, but some guys might not be comfortable with A, a woman who's superior to them, and B, a Muslim. Never mind the fact that I won't wear a burqa, hijab, or any of that shit. I love me some barbecued pork, and I chose my own husband, who comes from Kentucky and not some third world hellhole.
Fuck 'em, Shiny said, narrowing his eyes. They got a problem with you? They're gonna have to speak to me.
Melitani grinned. You see, that's why I like you, Shiny. You actually care about people. Plus, you've got a natural-born leader written all over you. I bet we're going to see you at the top of the food chain someday, wearing chief stars.
Well, you might want to hold those fits as a grandeur, you two. Sakava interjected. Suds just came in. All right, you guys, Sergeant Roarstorm called out, bringing the morning briefing to attention. We got some really interesting shit going on here. By interesting shit, I mean laugh at the FBI type of shit. Someone else is new, someone called out. Then the room briefly broke into laughter at that. No, seriously, we got a report passed down from the bureaucracy of DOJ. Roarstorm said, taking care to pronounce every letter out of snarkiness, that the Canadians are fucked up, but good.
Canadians? Hey, I'm not to blame here. A man named Sundown crackled. He was born in Montreal, but to American parents thus technically had dual citizenship.
Yeah. All you Canuckians are the same, whatever, the sergeant said, waving his hand to quiet the room once more. Anyway, DOJ report indicates that a group of Canadian military forces went rogue. Now, I know all you military vets in the room are about to crack jokes, but seriously, the report says that those special ops types. The feds ain't telling us any more than that at the moment. Copies of the report were then passed around the room. FBI is working with the RCMP to find out what they'll make public, but the long service will have to keep an eye out for any military-grade hardware with the gangs, as well as advanced training.
Any word yet on if they went into business for themselves or are they for rent?
A female officer asked. No word on that, Roarstorm replied. Next! Almost as this is going to impact us, Cuff replied. So we prioritize us over normal operations? You're kidding? Cribs will have a field day if he did. No. Until we hear more, just consider this backwater shit. It's not like this town's going to turn into a war zone or anything. Anything else we should be aware of? Insignia, weapons preferences, anything of the sort? Signing asked. Yeah. There's a supposed copy of the Union's insignia on the report. Roarstorm nodded. We had some investigators look into it while we were putting it together for you, but there's so far nothing we know about it. No name, nothing.
Shiny Godet's analytic mind immediately went to gear.
Yellow and blue, with fouled rope and an anchor. So that means naval unit, he mused aloud. 2 cutlasses pointed down, which traditionally means no quarter given. The placement of the eye of the anchor is such that it implies a spear tip, and since it's in the center, it implies a heart, and there's sign no quarter. Armor, how the fuck do you know that? Shiny smiled awkwardly. Well, my aunt and uncle were in the Navy. Aunt Seaspray used to tell me stories all the time. Plus, I have a friend who was also in the Navy, and the sea stories I hear from her are even wilder. The look on Roarstorm's face was shrewd. Alright, Armor. You and your little coffee class there sit tight. For the rest of you, get out there. Crime doesn't rest, and neither do we. Dismissed!
As the room began to empty, Melitov and Cuff looked at Shining. You got all that for second-hand stories?
Melitov asked, wheeling a friend. Okay. I also picked up a lot from Oceans Away. He admitted, it's a pirate MMO that Cadence and I goof off on, and we're hot. Yeah, I play that too, Roarstorm replied with a grin. But I can't ever seem to get past the Dutch Armada, though. Anyway, never mind that. Armor, since you opened up your big yap, you're our lucky contestant. In fact, all 3 of you are. For what? Cuff asked. In reply, the 3 of them were handed a car. Joint task force, boys and girls, was the sergeant's response. Personally, FBI not saying a damn thing, but insisting on building a local task force comprised of local law enforcement agencies means it's gonna be real nasty shit. Real dirty work.
Gave a look at the three, and the gaze of his leek green eyes was bleak.
I remember being in the Gulf War back in 91. Our squad ran into a group of Iraqi forces. They tore most of us up because we didn't have backup until airstrikes began. To this day, it's still not well known. But let me tell you three something. The look in those commandos' eyes was something I don't ever want to see again. I still get nightmares about that shit. And this sense anything like that?
The tree waited for Roseford to complete his statement. Anything like what? Meltali finally asked, providing its prompt.
It's gonna make the gang wars down south in LA look like a fucking teddy bear picnic, what?
Rosethorn finished.
Now you three are exempt from patrol for now. Take the weekend off. Report first thing Monday morning to the federal building. You'll be working with Special Agent Hardline for the FBI. Stay safe. I normally don't say that, but this time I think I have to.
After a good hour or so, T-Rex happily signing autographs and taking selfies with people, before they returned to Posey and Flareside's home, whereas the muscular gentleman indicated he had something to show them.
We got this via courier yesterday. We request to show this to you two.
He held up a flask key, showing it to Posey. On the key was the emblem of TVT Records.
If you would please, Posey.
I hope this isn't... Flareside began, but was cut off by Skies. Shy, trust us. It's not what you think, but it will be of interest to you, I promise. So he looked at Posey. Pose, you and I have been friends for years. But there's one thing you're going to have to trust us on. Please let it be this. I trust you, Skies. And you too, T-Rex, but... The doctor then looked at her daughter. It has to be your decision, Fluttershy. I've made my decision, but you're almost an adult, and I think you're old enough to decide what to do. However, if you really want the answers you've been looking for, then this has to be your decision. Posey took her daughter's hand in her own, passing her the flash key. Fluttershy took the flash drive in her hands, looking at the USB device that stole her living, fed him his thing. For some primal reason, she feared it. She didn't know what it held within its sizzle to grasp. Her godparents insisting it would be safe regardless, but they wouldn't know what would hurt her, and what they would not, would they? She was already in muscle pain, they knew, but what was on the drive? T-Rex approached her.
Fluttershy, I promise you that there's nothing bad on it. You know I wouldn't let anything bad happen to you, Princess. Hell, I'd tear the world apart person by person if I had to, just to protect you, and I certainly wouldn't give you that.
He gave her a warm smile across her head.
Reminds me of a time when me and my kid brother were first learning music. Scorpion was insisted that he learn the drums, because it was a cool thing, but I told him he needed to work on his arm strength to do so. He was always a weak kid. Well, we were in our first band. He lost his stick and almost hit our bassist in the head. Let me tell you, it's not exactly good for a 10-year-old kid. Anyway, stuck my hand out to catch the stick and it hit hard, cutting my hand open and preventing me playing for a good month or so. Scourge laughed at me and asked why I blocked the blow. I told him because he's my kid brother, and I promised to look out for him. And that stick hit the wall, I bet I could have easily kicked Scourge's butt. Anyway, my kid bro learned a lesson that day. That's why he's the muscle-bound drummer he is now. But the point I'm making is that I took a bullet, in a matter of speaking for him, for you, Shy. I take it a whole lot more. If there was anything remotely bad that Discord put on that. He knew I wouldn't have done this. He and I are best friends. But there's best friends, then there's protecting the innocent.
He gave her another smile.
So trust us all that beggar once, okay?
Second, hardest voice I have to do. You know I was number one. Fluttershy looked down, then to the flash drive, and finally back to a nod of understanding. Silently, he walked over to the television, plugging the drive into the USB port on the side of its bezel.
and easy control quieted over her feed. I'd like to let you know, I don't use any vocal effects for that T-Rex voice. That's pure me causing my vocal cords to vibrate. On screen there was nothing but darkness, simulating a second layer. Feeling Discord and his band. Discord himself carelessly pranced and paraded around the stage while the opening bars of the song came up. Mostly through the power cords laid down by a string bikini chest-wearing screwball. Behind him, Freebase wore a surf shirt and leather jeans from a place behind the drones. Screwloose wore a Noctis voice shirt. All in all, the song began in full. The four members of Discord's band romped and played on it, displaying their trademark style of snarkiness and instead of juvenile attitude. "What's this?" Posey asked. T-Rex smiled.
It's a new song. When was the last time you did anything? They actually recorded it for a charity album. So I got to spend some time in the studio next week, recording my own copy to Pearson.
Fluttershy watched the video intently, seeing her father and his bandmates bounce around and play power rock. Something that, truth be told, hurt her ears slightly. She tried to keep a neutral expression on her face, but watching her father's smug, smirking face as he belted out lyrics, nearly rubbing up against a nearly naked guitarist, probably close to half his age, wasn't easy by any means. Part of her wanted to scream insanities at the screen, while the other half just wanted to turn away, turn out the TV, and burn the USB key. Never want anything to do with him again. But out of the corner of her eye, she could see the platonic warm smile of her godfather. Nothing else he believed in him. "I don't understand," she said to no one in particular. "What am I supposed to see?" In response, T-Rex went up to her and put his large hands on her shoulders, as if lending her strength.
Browsed the screen and looked at his clothing.
Fluttershy watched as her father danced around bare-chested, save for a hot pink blazer, lightly full alligator skin pants and boots. There were some details on the blazers he couldn't make out as he moved around. That was likely why T-Rex recommended she paused, her finger traveling to the appropriate building button as he looked at the screen's still image. Dim felt her jaw dropped. There, embroidered into his blazer, both on the left and right panels as well as sleeves, were three emblems: a pink tulip, a pink butterfly, and a white abstract rabbit head. The pink tulip was easy. It was Posey's favorite flower, something her mother always cherished. But the pink butterfly and rabbit head were the shockers. The insect was the Corona del Mar drowning, a magenta-hued relative of the palos, feathered butterfly. Though the pink face blue and significantly more numerous than the endangered cousin. When Fluttershy was 3, her father took her to a park, completely filled with them, to the point he formed great carpets of pink in the sky. She found the image so striking, she had never forgotten it. As if anything, the butterfly could have considered a large spirit animal for her. If she believed in anything of the sort, it was the rabbit. That was simple. Angel always had a fondness for rabbits. She wasn't sure why, and was probably too young to really communicate the reason. It was clear her little brother always had a thing for cotton-tailed animals. To anyone else, these would be nothing more than designs on a custom-made blazer for some throwaway fashion designer in New York. But for Fluttershy, they were a statement. A statement that, after all these years, her father still thought about her, cared about her, as well as Angel and their mother, and compared with the realization her parents were still married to each other. Fluttershy felt her feet fall out from underneath her, but a split second later she was caught by strong hands. She turned to see T-Rex looking at her.
Shy, now you know the truth. Your father, Discord, he missed you ever since your parents had to separate. It hasn't been easy for him. He's not a person who takes loneliness very well, not since I've known him.
Sky rose from her seat and went over to Fluttershy. "Kiddo, do you know what happened 2 years ago after your dad won the Grammy for the Record of the Year for Get Bent? He went on stage and said in a serious voice he thanked the stars in the seats, the stars in the sky. But the biggest stars he wanted to thank were the ones who would never see this." She gave Fluttershy a kiss on the forehead and said, "Discord was talking about you, your mother and brother, his family, the ones he loved the most." Her eyes stinging, Fluttershy looked to her mother, who merely nodded to her. The teen then turned around, embracing her mother, and started to cry.
letting the tears stream down her face. Everything she knew was a lie. Everything. Fluttershy, Posey began, not sure what to say. I'll see him, the girl said haughtily. I'll go, but I want my friends to come. I need them to come. Posey kissed her daughter on the cheek. We'll go. As a family. She reached over and grabbed Fluttershy's hand, squeezing it. And your friends can come too. She looked at T-Rex. Can you...
Just gotta talk to the producer.
T-Rex answered, knowing what the question was.
Fortunately, as I understand it, Spruce Branch is a pretty upstanding guy. We're at the best of their label.
I need a throat break. The window on the 211th floor of the Burj Khalifa exploded outwards with a blast of fire and broken shards of glass, sending debris in all directions onto the city of Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. A second later, a person dressed in a black catsuit and wearing both a backpack and a knapsack sailed out the window, headed towards the ground at high speed. The dive was broken a second later, and a parachute unfurled from the backpack, chasing the individual's descent into a softer trip towards the streets, 2,600 feet below. Above from the shattered mall that used to be a window, several people appeared at the window. One of them shouted in Arabic to shoot the person. Several security guards complied, pulling out a variety of guns and firing, raining bullets down at the escapee. The person took the hits, unable to escape. The body jerked and spasmed from the shots. Finally, the moment stopped, and the corpse sailed into the breeze, headed towards a landing on the highway in the distance. The head guard smiled, relieved at stopping a thief, until the wind turned the body, showing it had been one of his own guards. Before he could say anything, a person jumped from the rafters, kicking him and two others out of the window to their deaths. Figured to drop to the ground to kick the feet out from the other two, before they could draw a bead. He then finally drew a gun from the underarm holster and shot the two, spent cartridges falling to the ground. Tika Mama! A voice roared in the ear, figure war. What the fuck are you doing? Your orders were not to engage! The girl known as Tika Mama reached her backpack with something, pulling a tarp-like object from the pouch. Well, you see how a bunch of thugs shooting at your ass, Chi. One of those assholes trying to use my body like it was a get! When did you learn to speak Arabic? I don't, he said in English. In any case, I had the object, but I can't promise any more casualties. Only I'll follow the rules. Rounds can be traced, you know. Only when it's one of their guns. And I boosted it from one of the guards I knocked down an hour ago. Dagama unfurled the tarp and started slipping on it, fastening the closures via a series of tungsten metal hooks to the back of her boots and thick steel bracelets she wore on her wrists. Finally, she put on a pair of goggles, making sure they were tightly secured. Looking at the gun again, she said to no one in particular, "Looks like a Chinese-type 54 Black Star. Can I keep it?" "Just get out before reservations come, you idiot." Digamama holstered the pistol and said, "Want one? Do you want to? Ooh! 9mm Markov. Score! Give me this one, too. At any rate, you're going to get caught for the delay, or you're going to plummet to your death for too much weight." "Okay, I get it. No more shopping. Plus, I haven't eaten anything since breakfast, so I should be fine weight-wise." She slipped the Markov into her back and double-checked the connections on her contraption. "Okay, going silent and doing the back, girl. Roger that. Be waiting at the drop zone." Hearing screams and footballs down the stairs, Takama did the only thing she could. She paused to put a wad of white plastic and a device on the floor. With that done, she effortlessly backflipped out the window, spraying her arms and legs open to let parts of her hastily slipped-on glide suit carry her from the upper breezes. A second later, the plastique went off, leaving a bigger explosion than the original already did, distracting the police helicopters they were already approaching. Down Digamama went, slipping into the sealed canyons that made up the downtown Dubai. On a frigid cold night, despite it being summertime. Most people never understood why deserts were cold at night, but Digamama read up on it. There was really nothing to keep the heat in. Deserts in general were a study of near polar opposites, blistering days and freezing nights. It had been information that would keep her alive, and alive was something she very much wanted to stay right now. Finally, as she approached the lower buildings, she aimed her right arm, hoping that the device still worked. She banged her arm against the wall earlier while trying to fight her way out. With a little luck, it still worked. Sure enough, the small harpoon shot out, with a small steel cable still attached.
Finding the purchase on a medium-sized building, she clicked her wrist in the opposite direction, and with a small wince inside the gauntlet did its thing, pulling her in and causing her to make a controlled crash on a rooftop, rolling until she came to a stop against the wall. We interrupt this fanfic to bring you my Let's Play of Just Cause. Stripping out the outfit, she wasted no time pulling her pistol out and heading for the door, only to see a little girl no older than 5 standing there on her roof, looking like she had been beat up. Clothing looked like it had been torn apart, and the implications weren't good. The look on her eyes was terrified. Not for Digimama's appearance, something else. A drunken, slurred voice shouted in Arabic, and the girl winced. Digitama silently waved the girl over. Without delay, the little girl moved behind her for safety. "Can't really do an Arabic accent, never tried," the voice replied. They looked up in shock as Digitama pointed the gun out. The response was a scream of rage, cut off 2 seconds later by the teeny sounds of 2 shots fired. Hell yeah. As the body of the man fell to the ground, Digitama holstered the gun again, picked up the girl and kissed her on the cheek and hugged her, making sure she was safe, carried in her arms. "Chi, Digimama, we have a problem." "Problem? What the fuck do you mean a problem?" "She shut the fuck up. I just picked up a little girl, no older than 5, who looks like her father used her for entertainment. Well, let's just say she qualifies for the sisterhood now." "Digimama, I thought you knew the rules. No, the rules say no innocence," Digimama said, enough with the girl in her arms wince. "That man was not an innocent." "Fine, but you better consider that a failing grade, Digimama. We have Ro en route to get you. We have seconds to join her, or you and she are both caught. Understand?" "Roger that!" With that, Digimama ran down the stairs of the building, now revealed as a mostly empty apartment complex. Heading towards the stairs, she reached outside. But a Toyota fan opened up, and the girl screamed, "In! Now!" With no argument, Digimama dived in head first, making sure to protect her precious cargo. As the door to the fan slammed shut, the girl screamed to her said, "What the fuck's going on, Digimama? You better have it got the object." "Yeah, I got it," was the response. "And I see you picked up someone. Fuck. You could have made this a sit you wasted. Any worse?" Digimama ripped off her goggles, revealing a girl with short, orange hair and almond-shaped wine-colored eyes. "Don't get me started, Ro. If you saw what I had, you would have done worse. Now get the kid some candy, and let's get the fuck out here. Last place I want to be in is one of those third-world jail cells." Hours later, a private, and mostly sullen, passenger jet knifed its way across the Atlantic. In a cabin, a discussion was being held. "Attention!" a woman barked at Digimama, who was currently sleeping on one of the chairs. Yeah, I gotcha, Mezzo," Digimama replied, standing up. "You're still on duty, recruit," came the response, quiet but firm. "Report for debriefing." "Aye." Immediately, Digimama got the message and stood and ran around attention. "Sorry, Lieutenant Intermezzo Blue, ma'am," Digimama replied. Intermezzo got right into the girl's face. "You caused a lot more damage than your allowance. Far more. So much more that Amiri has to sell us some extra bribes with her bank account and her body." Intermezzo growled. "Ever know what it's like to be on support duty and not having any interest in deducing your target whatsoever, even from the biological standpoint? It's painful, especially when the person eats it of your particular persuasion." "Not my problem," Digimama said, looking straight. "Yeah," Intermezzo said. "It's mine. Harpsichord right now has to do something, or rather someone, she won't do by her own choice, and that's your fault. So she asked me to give you a little message." With that, Intermezzo punched Digimama right in the stomach. The other girl crumbled to the floor, gasping for breath, only to be kicked her head aside by the woman. "And that's for nearly costing the mission. Do you know how long Maddie, Vesper, and I have been working to convince Katana that you three are ready? You almost cost us that!" Gasping in the air, wincing in pain, Digimama gasped, "Sorry, ma'am. I know you are." Intermezzo suddenly softened. A rough officer once stood was a caring young woman. "You're off duty now." The older girl then hugged the younger one. "You did a damn good thing, enough so to overturn your grade to pass." But long ago taught to the girl, you were right. Her mother died in childbirth, and her father decided it was the girl's job to take her mother's place. "Oh, man, you should have shot him at least 3 times. I could provide you a couple of good places to hit." "Thanks, Mezzo," Digimama said, accepting the hug. "And I'm sorry. I worry about you more than the others, you know.
You're a risk taker just like me. That's gonna get you killed. Mezzo brushed Digimama's hair out of her eyes. Fortunately, your final mission is just a simple espionage gig in California. I'll get you the briefing documents later. You passed this, and you're a group of full members of the Sisterhood. That's great. Digimama cleared. Once she stood up, only to be held to a chair by Intermezzo. You punch like an ox, you know that? Surprised you didn't block. You're the better martial artist. Never back down from a punishment, Mezzo. That's what you always taught me. And speaking of which, Mezzo shook her head. She's not even on the plane. Belcanto is responsible for smuggling her out of the country, getting down to America, or else to be given a new name and identity. She's Belcanto Petite Sua now. Oh, the girl said softly. Intermezzo reached into her pocket, pulling a piece of paper. She left this for you. Belcanto helped her write it. As you can see, it has her new name. Digimama took the note, seeing it was written more by Belcanto than by the girl. When she came to the girl's new name, she smiled. Really? Intermezzo smiled. Yep, but I'm sure little Adagio Soroso will be more than happy to know you're thinking about her. Someday you'll see her in the field, I'm sure. Good. The girl said with a smile. She deserves happiness, and the Sisterhood could give her that. Glad to hear it. Ready for your final challenge, Daji? See in her chair. Adagio Dazzle smiled. I'm always ready, Lieutenant, she said with a wolfish grin. Guys, I might have to look back at the old stuff, but I think this is the first time the Dazzlings have shown up on this show!